Hi, my name is Bavli,
I'm Bappi.
and this is our review of RRR. I grew up not really exposed to a lot of Hindi movies, and then around my teens, I started getting into them on my own. This movie perfectly sums up not only what is great about Indian cinema, but it also sums up every single problem that the global audience has with Hollywood. This movie could easily be defined within Western culture as a schlock film. It has all the tenets of very obvious VFX, very obvious CGI. It has a lot of really intense storytelling that if someone doesn't understand, they could easily interpret as being faulty story writing. And yet this movie perfectly sums up that if you have sincerity, if you have cohesion on set, if you have a vision in mind to strive towards, you have something the audience will love. This movie is art.
This one was also teamwork. Like, so many artists had to come together, and everybody was on their A game in this movie. Like, when you watch this movie, the actors, the director, the writer, the production team, the choreography team, the stunt team, like, there is nobody here who's phoning it in. Everybody's like, you know what? How much of 110% can we give? Like, if you have a movie that describes that weird statement that give your 110%, it's this movie.
Absolutely. And everything from the acting to the script to the storyline that follows through, the music, the editing, every single part of this movie just kept me hooked throughout the entire time. There was no point at which I wanted to take a break. There was no point at which I was like, okay, I've had enough. And it's a 3-hour long movie. If anything, this movie epitomizes the problem that people have with long movies like this. If it's well made, I will sit through the 3 hours. If it's well made, I'm not gonna get up to take a break or go get food or whatever. This movie had me invested.
You just gave me flashback to when we were watching the movie. I remember asking, like, wait, are we in the intermission? Man, where is the intermission? Like, I can't even feel the pacing. The movie is so fast paced. Usually I can tell, like, the movie's at the middle mark or something, around that thing. This time, by the time I was like, is it at the intermission? I checked, we're already crossed 2-hour mark. We were at the last stretch, like that. I couldn't tell. What I could tell was, wait, are we already in Act 3? So that means at least 2 hours have passed, right? 2 hours have passed. We had been we were starting Act 3, 1 hour left. I'm like, it is one of the best paced movies I've watched in the last decade.
When I was watching the film, if we're talking about just character arcs, Bhim and Raju, the main two characters, I can now, in retrospect, go like, oh wow, the actors did so well. When I'm watching it, I'm not focused on their acting or what the actors are thinking. Nothing. The story keeps me hooked, and the actors sell it. Like, the actors, and I love the fact that this movie gave me what I want to see in stories of cultures being oppressed by the oppressors. You don't have people of color warring within themselves for no whatsoever reason. No, they're both both Bhim and Raju are coming at what they want, which is the same goal, but from two completely different. There's a microcosm approach, and there's a macrocosm approach.
Yes.
And they're both fighting against the indoctrination and oppression of the British Empire, and you can feel that in every single part of their stories. Bhim has a member of his tribe stolen by a woman who just wants someone to do her mehndi.
And the singing.
For £2. And how that unfolds, and when you're introduced to Raju, and this man is, like, we were watching it and we kept making comparisons to Batman versus Superman.
Yep.
If anything, Raju is Batman and
Yep.
Bhim is Superman.
Oh my god, this was Batman v Superman fully. Oh god. Even Raju's first act. There's an action scene that is open in the trailer where he jumps and fights against lots of people. That felt like Christopher Nolan Batman Begins had a line by Raj Al Ghul that you have trained to fight six, something along that line. I'm paraphrasing. You have trained yourself to fight 6 men. I will teach you to fight. We will train you to fight 600. This movie felt like took that line literally. Okay, let's actually run with it. What if he was so badass he could actually fight 600 people on his own, and you will see it and you'll believe it and you'll go, holy shit, that's Batman.
There's actually a line in this movie that one of the officers says to a senior officer, and he says, I was so scared of all of them, and the senior officer responds, I was scared of him.
Yes,
I'm scared of him.
That's Batman. That's Batman.
And it's just, I could talk about this movie for hours. Every single bit of this movie made me excited for what we could have for film going forward. The music was moving and never took me out of the scene. There's a dance sequence in this movie that captures what we love about Indian cinema. If you're not used to musicals, if you're not used to dance scenes, you might be like, okay, this took me out of the movie. But for anyone who appreciates musicals, for anyone who appreciates Indian cinema and the way choreography and dances are incorporated into the story, it is that. I don't want to give spoilers away for this movie. Please, please, please go watch it. But it's impossible to not want to talk about it. And especially if you can, watch it with a group of friends.
It's one of those type of movies. It's a group watch movie.
My favorite part of this movie was the bromance between Bhim and Raju.
Yep. I was actually thinking of something else. I was thinking of the thematically one of the Batman angle, if I go with it. Batman, we always make a joke that justice and vengeance are not the same. They're two separate things. If you want the deconstruction of what if vengeance and justice were intertwined? What if your life was so messed up that they got intertwined? And Batman would be that character. And here, they did that as well. Where you're like, whoa, that's an... Again, I'm not going to give anything away, but this is the part, this is where I will stop. If you're a Batman fan who wants to watch the culmination of vengeance and justice thematically and story and character wise woven in, where you go like, okay, this is something fresh, new, whatever word you want to use. Just as a Batman fan, I would say watch it. I really cannot describe it in words other than go watch it. You'll get what I mean.
This is in no way peak Indian cinema. It is to me personally, but I would understand why other people might be like, why are you recommending RRR where there's so many other great Indian films? That may be very true. But if you want a movie that is sort of a way for you to dip your toes into the world of Indian cinema, RRR is that.
I'm going to actually interject here and say something. It may not be the great, but it is one of the great. Example, Jurassic Park, Terminator 2, Matrix, Jaws. Which one would you say is better among them? The answer is none of them. They were all innovative in their own ways. They're one of 10 of the greatest movies ever made. RRR is one of those. People might argue that Bahubali 1 and 2 or some other movies better than this. But what they will not be able to argue against is this is one of the greatest our continent has produced. So yes, from that way, it is one of the greats. Go watch it.
Yes, please, please, please go watch it. Just know that I enjoyed talking about this movie as much as I enjoyed watching it. And if I could, I would talk about it nonstop.
Can I add something else too? This is for the Batman v Superman fan, because we're not using the what do you call the labeling just randomly. When we're saying Batman v Superman, you can assume, as this trailer should, there is a versus between the two characters. It is the type of, it is emotionally cathartic Batman v Superman. you watch this and you go like, structurally, if you just study it, hell, if you're one of those writers, just watch it to study how the execution is done, on how to bring about an emotional arc, coalesce it with, I don't know, your philosophical arc, your ideological arc. Watch it and you'll understand. I'm so excited that it is difficult for me to articulate, because most Western filmmaking, because they do not go with the emotional core, most of the characters always act with their head. Real life, we don't usually act with our head. We act with our heart, and then we rationalize it with our head, usually. Decisions are when we just, use our head, like how many apples we need to buy, I have this much money, etc. But if you have to punch someone, do I punch in the face? Do I punch here? Do I even want to punch that person? That's a whole different thing. Anyway, there's an emotional reason why you would want Superman to win in the BVS, but simultaneously you also don't want Batman to lose. This one hit that nuance. Usually you're, this person is in the wrong, or this hit that proper real life nuance that, I don't want him to lose, but I need him to win. Oh my God, I'm in the conundrum. That's what BVS is supposed to give us. It's supposed to give us that conundrum. We're not supposed to usually go, Superman, you work for Ronald Reagan, so of course you should get your ass kicked. Oh, Batman, you're an idiot, of course you should get your ass kicked. No. These two are supposed to represent two of the best fictional characters, and when they go at it, we're supposed to have a philosophical and ideological collision. This is pointing at a nuance of reality. Neither of them are wrong, but what would be the correct execution? We can't really say. We can argue as an audience, hey, Batman, you should have talked with him. Hey, Superman, you should have talked with him. But what if the circumstances didn't allow you to? Simultaneously, the Superman killing someone. This movie did that too. So if I will come out and directly say, I don't like the way Man of Steel executed that bit of the neck snapping, but I am not against the idea. I do agree that there will come points in situation where Superman will have to do it. So I have an issue with the execution, not the idea. This one was that same idea, but the execution done to my taste, pitch perfect way. Like when it finally culminates into the Superman killing someone, you're like, yes, I understand why would he kill. And not only that, yes, this is that one moment Superman should kill. If he doesn't kill, he's fucking over. He's screwing everybody over. There. For the Batman v Superman fans, please watch it. Especially if you like the Ultimate Edition. You will, And the reason I can say it, one of my best friend he made me watch it, like, dude, you're a Superman fan, go watch it. Then my other friend who loves Batman v Superman, and he really likes these type of stories, and I told him to watch it as Batman v Superman. He watched it and he agreed, yes, this is the best Batman v Superman. Hell, my wife is a Superman fan. She called it a Batman v Superman movie. So it's from all of us, please.
If anything, I can say as a Superman fan, as someone who has grown up loving Superman, they executed Superman so perfectly, because there's a point in which this film, it drove home for me as well and that seems to be the overall message of the film, that if you want vengeance, it can never supersede justice. If you want vengeance, you always have to do it in the most just manner possible. Otherwise, you're creating a whole other cycle of problems.
Can I just add one comic book fan? And the one person who figured out, Batman. He's vengeance and justice personified. This movie gave me every single time Batman, I'm like, yes, Batman!
As a Superman fan, when you're focused on justice, there may be elements of information that you are missing, and having the humility to acknowledge when you're wrong or when you've made a mistake is the ultimate just thing you can do. If you find yourself at odds with someone and you realize that you were in the wrong, if you don't support that person, and if you don't try and add your voice to them getting the justice they deserve for everyone, that's justice.
Yep. I agree. I'm already emotional just thinking about Superman's art. Superman's one of my favorites. And this was one of those pitch perfect execution of Superman. And I haven't seen that other than animations in the comic book, to be honest. For my taste, I have not seen it in live action. That's why I'm so emotional. It's something I'm not going to be able to get over. And the fact that not only did they handle Superman, they handled BVS to a pitch perfect way of modern global sensitivity and aesthetic. What do I mean by using this term is what we thought was cool and okay in 80s, we didn't think it was cool and okay in the 90s. Then our ideas changed again in 2000, then 2010. Now we're at 2022. This movie hits that. It's not doing a BVS from Frank Miller's thing. It is doing those concepts in a modern way. And here's the kicker. It's not really trying to. It's doing its own thing. But it just happens to be the character archetypes happen to be this one represents vengeance and justice, so automatically it becomes Batman. The other one represents truth and hope. Yeah. And both of them come to a middle ground of justice. He also fights for justice. He defends justice. He fights for justice. So you have that middle ground where they, meet, if you will.
And the ultimate lesson is that Superman and Batman may have arguments, but in the end, they're going to end up fighting for the same thing.
And there's a corridor video has this thing, they're breaking down their VFX, and Freddie Wong, awesome guy. And he pointed out when they were watching each other in the first interview, is that game recognizing game? And I'm like, yes, excellently put, game recognizing game. Yeah. Superman, Batman.
Putting our long rant and ramble to an end, please just know, please go watch this movie. If you like what we had to say, please leave a comment, a like, and if you want to hear more from us, subscribe. Thank you. Have a great day.